CHistrue, and this is a continuation of my religion series. Let's look at the world's religions like this. They're a mixture. You have good and bad in all of them. I'm going to state for the record that I believe that they're human created. I would say, however, that it's possible that there's an inborn sense of the divine. Even atheists who are evolutionary psychologists seem to agree that there's in fact an inborn sense of the divine. But I would say that the religious systems of humanity are imperfect. You have mixtures of liberation and oppression within all of them. That even includes secular ones like Marx. You have a mixture of his 1848 liberation side, and then you have the authoritarian later side that eventually led to Lenin. Within Christianity, you have the Sermon on the Mount, and then you have maybe the writings of Paul that don't seem to speak to the heart, in my opinion, or at least speak to the impulse of liberation in a political sense quite as much. Within my own background, you have the moral teachings of the prophets and of the some aspects, at least, of the Levitical law that are promote a moral code. But then one might have the supernaturalism and the tendency towards a fear-based concept of God. God's going to destroy the Canaanites and he's going to destroy you, and a lot of emphasis on miracles and supernaturalism. Islam, again, there are good teachings, but then about how to treat your neighbor, but then there's also the strong theocratic aspect of it. Buddhism has good stuff on enlightenment, good teachings, but then there's also a religious system that can be used to inculcate passivity. Don't change your government because it's your karma, that kind of thing. Same with Hinduism. Mixtures of the very noble, how to treat animals well, but then the caste system. Indigenous religions, one has, the tribes who lived in peace with one another and with the earth and had a non-hierarchical existence. Women had a lot of equality, but then one also had the Aztecs that had a definite hierarchical structure. And the same could probably be said, again, for any culture anywhere in the world. In the Western scientific tradition, there is a similar mixed bag. One has an emphasis on from the Enlightenment, one has an emphasis on the liberating aspects of it. But then there's also the technocracy, the sense of rationality as a top-down system of authority. And vesting confidence in the supposedly more rational, but then that's a legitimation of a structure. We see this in the so-called Marxism of the Soviet Union. We see this in fascism. We see this in eugenics. We see this in late-stage capitalism. And frankly, early-stage capitalism, too. The imperialism would often have this as a justification. The mistreatment of the Native Americans would have this as a justification. So we have, in all of these traditions, we have a mixed bag. Remember that human beings are... Well, I remember Michio Kaku stating that we're all naturally born scientists, and that's partly true. I mean, we're born with curiosity and wonder and creativity. But are we born as natural critical thinkers? In the recent move to Common Core, the purported aim is to inculcate critical thinking. And yet, I know from experience that to actually inculcate critical thinking in young people, you have to teach it. You can't simply state that they're going to be natural critical thinkers. And I think there's a flaw in the logic with Common Core that we can discuss some other time. I have discussed it in other videos, but it's beyond the purview of this. Critical thinking must be taught. We evolved creativity and wonder as hunter-gatherers, but we did not evolve as critical thinkers. That is a late-stage invention in human culture. And so comes the idea that we need philosophy, really. Science cannot directly comment on issues of religion one way or the other because science in its tangible form is a scientific discovery stating that, well, there's science, and therefore we have the explanation of everything, ergo we can make broad-based comments on religion. That has to actually be justified using logical thinking and using the rules of logic. And those in the scientific world who have attempt to pontificate on matters of religion are not proceeding logically. They're proceeding by way of this type of argument. We've proven that there is evolution, and yes, we have. We've proven that there is natural selection, yes, we have. Ergo, we have the explanation for existence, and ergo, we do not need to talk about God. So why are you wasting time on this, CHistrue? Get back to math and science. Or politics. Well, that's no more of an actual rational, logical argument using critical thinking than Kant's belief that, well, space and time is intuitive, so let's just get on with it. Space and time, according to Kant, Kant's understanding of space and time, meaning Euclidean space and time, happens to be wrong. It's intuitive, but it happens to be wrong, as according to Einstein, according to Gauss. But definitely according to Einstein. So it is not the case that because we have... I know a lot of atheists, you want me to go into your camp, but hold on a second. Because we have proven evolution does not mean that the divine does not exist. One does not follow directly from the other. Even evolutionary biologists concede that we seem to have some inborn sense of the divine that transcends culture. And I would add transcends the formal strictures of any given religion, which, again, I believe are created by human beings. But they may be created by human beings with some sense of the divine. Can we reconcile God with evolution? And the answer is not if we either ignore any and all talk of teleology and evolution, in which case we probably can't, or if we assume that teleology must mean the critical, rational intelligence itself alone, as a lot of my atheist viewers might think. No, I do not believe you can under either of those scenarios. The bacteria are more evolved than we are because they've lasted billions of years, and we have not. And we could very well destroy ourselves tomorrow. In a lot of ways, evolutionarily, our intelligence has run away faster than our wisdom. But what of wisdom itself? In particular, what of the Buddhist concept of empathy and compassion? Wisdom and compassion together. Could this be the goal of evolution? Could Buddhism have an answer here for us? Well, let's think about it like this. The bacteria are social. They have huge colonies. So are bees. So are ants. By the way, bees and ants are not a dictatorship. The queen does not rule despotically. That's not how their societies work. They work together. They function together. They are better social organizers than humans. And they are evolutionarily probably more adapted than we are. Yet, with our intelligence, perhaps someday we might get to that level of maintaining individuality, full freedom of individuality. So this is where I differ from, let's say, collectivism in the statist form, or transhumanism in the capitalist form. And that is, I believe that we need the classical anarchist ideal, and I'm talking about anarcho-syndicalism, pacifist anarchism, of the full free individual in the full free community. The free individual in the equal community. Might this be the goal of evolution? Funny that I would mention a lot of atheist philosophers and talk about that as a teleological, spiritual teleology and evolution. But I did. It's the paradox here. Of course, organic life has not yet transcended the in-group, out-group thing yet. The idea of an us-them. Could that be the next step as we move to the stars? No, I do not believe in the singularity of Kurzweil because I think that it doesn't have this element of spiritual transcendence. I'm going to wait for the real thing. I'll hold off on the singularity and wait for the real thing. CHistrue, signing.